Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gives me heartburn. It's like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here. Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we debate the best movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction realm while getting plastered together. Tonight, we have a wonderful guest in C.S. Humble returning to the battleground. Seth, so thankful to have you on the show, brother. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. And our debate topic tonight is none other than George R.R. Martin's Fevre Dream, which is a vampire novel by everybody's favorite fantasy author. But is it our favorite vampire novel? We will be told whether it is or not by the dice gods. It's not up for us mortals to decide. We just drink and follow along with their whimsies. The other thing we do is we like to talk about ourselves. Otherwise, why would we be on a fucking podcast? And we're going to start doing that with our personal updates. Jalami, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
Well, hey, I'm doing okay. Although we have reached the time of year where I cannot buy anything for myself. And that's going to last until January.
Yeah,
that's
a rough time. January birthdays are hard for everybody who has them. And basically nobody else. But
yes.
Mm-hmm. And I blame Black Friday for starting earlier every single damn year. Jerks.
It's definitely Black Friday's fucking fault. We can blame it for many things. And that's certainly one of them. That's certainly one of them. Ruining January birthdays, ruining December birthdays, which I myself have. Merry Birthmas situation, December 27th.
Christmas is already ruining your birthday.
It is. It allows you to leverage for slightly more expensive gifts, but you definitely get less gifts. So you just have to play your cards right. You got to know. You gotta do the old Abner Marsh and just go for the full Fevre Dream situation every single year.
Okay, all right. I see you, brother.
I never get it. I get my little stock in the trading company, but it works out. I'm treated well. I have a great family. And
I can confirm Clay did ask for a steamboat this year, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Hey, you miss every shot you don't take. You know what I mean?
Right. Thank you, Larry Bird. You miss every shot you don't take. Nice reference.
I got you. We were talking sports off the air here because we're all repping our sports teams. Two top teams in the NFC, I will say, in the Rams and the Eagles here. Sorry about it, Cowboys. How you doing down there with your little tie? Travis, what's your personal update, buddy?
My personal update. I will not kick the Cowboys while they're down.
I will.
I am actually very excited.
Hot.
They're called shit kickers for a reason.
Very excited about this week's personal update because I'm gonna advertise a really cool thing that I found last year. I don't remember how. I think off someone's YouTube channel, but it's called the Catherine Project. And it's a online group of like classical self-learn classes. So anyone that's into like the classical education model and stuff, they do reading groups, Socratic seminars, they teach Latin and Greek, and it's all completely free. But it's just like really, really hard to get in. So, cause everyone asks for it and they only select like 10 people per reading group. So I think it's like a kind of sought after thing. Anyway, they had a literary writing group that started, and I got in. So every other week,
Nice.
That's where we are. Right there is where we need like the soundboard where it plays the Price is Right theme.
The Price is Right would be good. I got to track that down.
Yeah.
I do got applause for you. Do you want some applause, Travis? Here you go.
I'll take it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because I've been kind of looking for something to motivate me to try and put pen to paper in something that isn't a movie review. And this is the time, I think. So, and I really, if you've not heard of the Catherine Project, look them up. Their spring registration for classes just opened, and it closes at the end of the month on the 28th. So if you want to read excellent work with, I'm assuming, really cool people based on what the thing is, like, I don't think I'm going to find not cool people in there. You should give it a look.
Nice, congrats. And now you can no longer say you're the only not writer of the group. You got like a residency, That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. This portion of the podcast brought to you by our latest sponsor, the Catherine Project.
Donate now.
Hashtag Catherine Project, donate now. Yes, thank you so much, Catherine Project, for making this show a reality. Another reality, I guess, would be my personal update. I'm pretty excited. I live here in Port Angeles, Washington now, and I've kind of been poking around for like little side gigs because when you're a full-time creative, you're always doing like a million side gigs to scrape in enough money. Applied to the local paper, kind of got a feel for it and was like, I'm not going to do that. But through that, I set up some interviews with the Field Hall and Event Center in PA, which puts on all the big like shows that come through. It put on the Banff Film Festival. It puts on a bunch of like dances and comedy competitions and all kinds of cool stuff. But after like the leader of that checked out my resume and stuff, and I got hired to be one of their special events writers. So I'm really stoked about that.
Can we get the applause, Bobby? Can we get the applause on that?
Let's get the applause here. Get the applause. I'm behind on it. I'm behind on it.
There we go.
There you go, Bobby.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Everybody, please calm down. I'm really excited. I'm going to be writing about arts and culture and cool shows that come through my hometown, and it's just right down the street. It pays well, so it's like a perfect side gig for me, with opportunities to do some other really cool stuff. They want to expand their like outdoor education stuff as well, so I can pitch to them some ideas for bigger writing projects that will take a little longer, but would be even bigger pay, and that they're going to pitch to magazines and stuff. So
that's great.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
You should be. Congratulations.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. And how about you, Seth? What's going on in your world since last time you were in the fermented realm?
Well, I'm doing a lot of work on me right now, No, so I've been, in terms of writing, I'm about 86,000 words into a new manuscript. I'm about to be done with that before the end of the year, and then we'll go into editing, which is exciting. It's a gothic romantasy. So I'm outside of the horror realm, but of course, as you can guess, there are horror elements to it, because we can't divorce fantasy from horror. The two are inextricably tied together. So working on that's been a lot of fun. And other than that, not a whole lot. I mean, I have my normal 40-hour-a-week job that's, no one ever wants to talk about that. But other than that, everything's made in its shade with the pink lemonade. You know what I mean?
I think so. I'm not from Texas, but I can assume what that means.
Mm-hmm.
What if I might ask, and if you don't want to talk about it, then just tell us not to. But what is your 40-hour-a-week job? Do you like your 40-hour-a-week job? I know we're not allowed to like those, but I think some people actually do.
I think I'm in a really fortunate position at the company. I work at a marketing company where I'm the primary search engine optimization expert. So if you want to show up on the top of the Google SERP, that's me.
Okay.
I'm helping you, I'm helping you with like things like your technical issues, your on-page content, your 404s, your redirects, your 303s. I'm the man.
Hell yeah.
I'm here to help you. I'm in the zone, baby. If you want to talk about Google and how to win for SEO and AEO, which is of course, AI search for LLMs, I'm the guy to help you get on those pages to help you win.
I mean, fermented fiction probably needs a fair amount of help with that.
Right.
To be completely honest. But that's
Right.
another conversation and a far less interesting one for those of you watching in the chat. Shout out to John. Shout out to Colin. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
I do want to
thank
say,
you.
Clay, I think our marketing strategy thus far has just been like, try and get cool people to like us.
Yep.
Hey, that's the start. That's the start. Let me also give a shout out to that's John Big Things McMahon who's joining us in the viewer channel. So appreciate him being here. And Colin, thank you for being here. You sweetheart, you.
And this is the John I met at Worldcon, correct?
No,
Is that the
no,
same
that
John?
was that's a different John. This is a completely different John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He looked like a guy who might have went by Big Things. It wouldn't have surprised me entirely, but he's a hell of a guy. John from Worldcon, I hope you see this, and just know that you deserve the moniker Big Things as well. John McMahon, that is in fact here. Thanks for being here, dog. We hope we'll entertain you. We're gonna try to do that, and we're gonna start right now because we're gonna get into our debate segment. Now, today we're talking about Fevre Dream. If you don't know what Fevre Dream is, it is a novel from 1982, predates A Song of Ice and Fire. That is the Game of Thrones series, for those of you who may only know the show. The actual name for that series is A Song of Ice and Fire. This predates it by a couple decades, and it is a vampire novel set in the South during the Abolition era, and it is all about steamboats and vampires. Our main character is Abner Marsh, who is a steamboat captain. He meets a man named Joshua York, who offers him a very fortuitous business opportunity. And all it takes is an extremely shady partnership, and Abner Marsh can have everything of his dreams. All he has to do is ask absolutely no questions and not be creeped out when Abner Marsh is in fact, or when Joshua York is in fact a total creep. So yeah. Then vampires happen, and you'll have to read the book or just keep listening to this show where we spoil everything to find out the rest of the story. Tonight, representing fermented fiction is my ass, and representing our opponents, which is every other person in the literary realm, is C.S. Humble. C.S., do you have your dice on hand? Are you ready to roll?
I've got my digital die roller.
All right.
To Google.
I got y'all's
rolling now.
That might be rigged.
timer?
This guy being an SEO.
I can't rig the die
Gets
roller.
all the
Mind.
big numbers,
I
man.
don't know.
But I will
about
say
that.
I did just roll an 18.
I
Did you
rolled
nat
a nat
20?
20.
Yeah.
No bullshit. It's right here.
Unbelievable.
All
I
right.
haven't
Well,
rolled a nat 20 all season. I don't know when I last rolled a nat 20. I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago. That's
It's been biding its time, perhaps.
unbelievable. Waiting
it was
for this
waiting for
moment.
Seth.
I am so happy right now.
That was a fantastic roll, Seth. We love an 18, but a nat
18's
20.
Hey,
Let's
20
take
beats
it.
18.
So, you know what? That means you're put in the seat of attacking the hell out of Fevre Dream. You think this is a piece of garbage novel. And Clayton, you got to praise it to the ends of the earth.
No
and
problem.
you know, your boy George R. R. Martin, you're repping his corner over there. I have your 10-minute timer. We are, of course, going to start with our positives. Are both of you ready for a clean debate that also might be dirty? All right.
That is correct. I will fight dirty in this debate.
Samesies.
Clayton, coming in with
Thank
you.
God.
Remember, the 10 minutes is to share, so no one has to take the whole podium's time. In 3, 2, 1, begin.
All right, so first and foremost, this is a George R. R. Martin story, which means the prose is immaculate and illustrative. We have an in-depth, deep world dive that happens primarily through character development and dialogue, something that George Martin just has one of the best grasps of in modern literature. His particularly what stood out to me was his grasp of the industry, like the in-industry vernacular around steamboating, around captaining a steamboat, around knowing how steamboats are built, around the way they navigate through the river. I didn't highlight a specific quote or anything, but I'm sure you did, Seth, so we'll get to that later. But there's some beautiful passages in here where he is using the actual terminology that I feel a steamboat captain would have used. And I think to poke holes in it, you would have to be very into steamboats yourself. For anybody this is their intro to steamboats, it's got sort of a Moby Dick effect where it's like, not only was I profoundly entertained, but also I learned a fuck ton about the subject matter of this book. And I knew this was a vampire book. I did not know I was going to come out of this book being like, steamboats kick ass. But I did, I did come out thinking that. And I now know so many more things about that entire industry. And what I really loved about that too was it takes a very niche industry. It takes like a little snapshot of history, a little snapshot of time. It pulls it out and it magnifies it. And in that way, we get so much more in the shoes of a real world person in Abner Marsh, in everybody that's involved in the crew, because ultimately, like, that's what most of our lives boil down to. I mean, including those of us who write or those of us who make movies, whatever. Like, unless you are the Beatles, like, there's a million musicians that are just forgotten, but they dedicated their lives to music. They know more about it than you will ever know. They have forgotten more than you'll ever know. And people like that are important. It's important to hear their stories. They all collectively build these cultures. They all collectively build up countries and movements. And if it weren't for the steamboat, like, we would have an entirely different industrial complex in this entire country, in the entire world. So it's fascinating that we got to do that deep dive, and we got to channel it like through the lens of a vampire story, which was a perfect mirror to the themes that are relevant to this story, which is abolition, which is slavery, which is ruling through Machiavellian fear tactics versus ruling through fair business dealings, trust, and noble motivations, the seeking of beauty, you might say. So there's lots of really good stuff in this. I could get into more of it, but I'll give Seth a little bit of time to pretend he doesn't like this book.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your candor. I will take the time from the senator from Washington at this time. I think that George R.R. Martin does a laudable job of putting forth what is effectively a contrived novel that falls apart in the middle of the book. Now, why would I say that? So there are a couple of things here. Number one, I think that the romance that exists between these two characters, and yet at no point do these two people kiss each other, when it's so obvious that Abner Marsh is looking for love in his life that's greater than just the steamboats he's on. Joshua Anton York, or J.A. York as he's called in business, or so he tells us, is a man who has gone through life lying to people. His whole life is a lie. Everything about him is a fiction. Not only just what he sees about himself, but also the quality of who he is in his own culture with the people of the night. At one point, this character goes so far as to label himself as Jesus Christ of the vampire people, and he is the White King, right? Or no, excuse me, the Pale King.
The Pale King. The Pale
King.
Okay.
There's one point where he even says, we have had our John Presseters, we have had our Caesars, but we are waiting for our deliverer, Abner. We are waiting for our Christ. Literally saying, I'm Jesus Christ, which is pretty tough. Also, since every single thing that Joshua York tells Abner for the first third of the book is all horseshit. So what is this book really about? Could it have been about abolitional movements? It absolutely could have. However, Abner specifically has the position of an anti-abolitionist in the beginning of the novel. He does take a position of being abolitionist later, but you don't get bonus points for not fighting against the slavers' revolt when it was a problem. I would also say that because this book is effectively about a toxic romance between two men who can't realize that they really love each other enough, even to the point where even at the end, when the climax of the book happens, Joshua only believes he can get Abner to help him if he lies to him one final time. And in this way, it sort of proves what George R. R. Martin, it shatters Martin's entire thesis of the work, which is when Joshua and Abner are talking, Joshua speaks of, what shall it be, Abner? Can we have two hands crossed against day and night to clasp across the twilight of history? Shall we have blood and be enemies, or shall we be friends and have wine? And that's a crock of shit for the rest of the book. And Joshua does not, it does not turn out that Joshua is who he hopes to be, because and this is Martin's point, is that there never was going to be a messianic figure either for humans or for the vampire race that he created. And so he sort of tears apart his whole point by the end of the book. And I laud George's, because this is Martin's first novel that did very, very well. And I'm not quite sure how, seeing how he duped everybody in the book, including himself, destroying every inch of romance that he builds through the book, while also having a massive erection for steamboats the whole time.
He did have just a throbbing, just absolutely bricked up for steamboats.
Aching erection for steamboats. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, something not even Valerie could help him with, obviously. But
that is correct.
That's because he stood strong. Your boy Abner Marsh stood strong, and I think that something else that stands strong in this book is the quality of the characters remains throughout the entire novel. Like, you say that it's all predicated on a lie, but it's not. It's actually predicated on the first initial and truest truth that Joshua York shares with Abner Marsh, which is that I have really important business that I'm about, and if you ask me about it, I will lie to you. I just have to, because you won't believe me. And he's totally right.
I have to interject here, and I must say that is the initial position, and then he projects to Abner that he's going to tell him the truth, and then gives him some bullshit story about, I'm actually a vampire hunter. And Abner's like, yeah, that sounds totally right. And not only that, he lies to him 3 more times in the novel, effectively Judasing his way all throughout the entire book.
He's not lying at that point, though. He's just telling a selective truth. He is hunting vampires. Lying. No, he's not.
He says that he is hunting. They are his enemies.
They are.
That's not accurate. No, they're not. He's trying to be their Jesus. He's not trying to kill them. If anything, he's trying to dominate them with his special fancy drink that he's made from a concoction of things that he learned in providential France, all of these years ago, right?
So he's got some highfalutin ideas about what it means, but ultimately, maybe they as beings aren't his enemy, but the way they are going about their business, the way they are treating mankind, the way they are treating their own kind, that is Joshua York's enemy. He is in a war against ideals, not a war against beings. That is the hard thing about his position. And he's probably already tried throughout his centuries of existence to tell somebody, to confide in people. And that has never worked out well for him, as we see when he tells us those parts of his story.
Right, but therein lies the falling apart of the crux of the novel, when Joshua is dominated by a stronger vampire and then proceeds to do the will, be subjugated by that vampire, breaking apart the whole notion of who Joshua York is. And multiple times through the novel, he's like, Abner, I'd love to stay with you, brother, but I mean, Damon Julian, he's my daddy. And I got to do what he says. And even if you attacked Damien, I would be compelled to try and save him. Like, all of these things. So if the idea was that Joshua York was going to try and bring about this revolution of things, then he must also be culpable when he is dominated into those actions of subjugation, because he can choose. Right, well, he can choose who he wants to be, and he decides multiple times throughout the book.
That's lore. 5 seconds. You are subjugated to some extent as a storyteller to lore.
Everybody shut up.
Fantastic work, everyone.
Great, excellent work. Wonderful debate. Seth,
it was deeply painful.
I was printing the quotes. All right, that will bring us into our next part of the show, which we, as we discuss things and trivia and our thoughts on the book, we first like to have a little drinky drinks in our hand.
Yeah.
And I want to know what all those are. So start, Jeremy. What are you drinking?
Well,
and are you on a steamboat?
I am not currently on a steamboat, but with one or two more of these, I will certainly think that I might be. So what I've got here, I've got this Old Forester 1920.
Ooh, I love Old Forester. Tremendous.
So good, right?
Nice.
But I've also got this Fever Tree tonic and some bitters. And that's just a holiday themed, chocolatey, wonderful thing in a glass with ice,
Nice.
baby.
I am drinking cask strength makers, which I usually don't like makers, but the cask strength is actually not too
It's
bad.
really good. Yeah, it's very oaky.
My wife bought it for making whiskey cherries, and then the cherries went bad, so I left out. So she didn't put the cherries in the whiskey, and I get to drink the whiskey. Clay, what are you having?
Victory. I am smoking weed like usual and drinking a little bit of beer. I don't have an on theme one because what we did was we went to a local bottle shop and they had like these plastic bags. They were like $12 and you got like 6 beers in there. So they were just stuff they're trying to rotate out. So they're just surprise bags. I got this delightful little number. It just has some crazy ass Alice in Wonderland Easter Bunny shit happening. And it is called Tea Parties and Croquet
I feel like
Games.
it's kind of on theme. I feel like,
Yeah,
you know,
tea parties.
those vampires are having tea parties. The tea's blood, but you know.
When you were putting it up, I was like, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. That's what was going on in my head, right?
Nice.
Excellent.
Perfect.
I hope that's what will sing to me from within as I drink this beer.
Is that
But-
one of your karaoke songs, Seth?
No, actually, my big karaoke song is The Final Countdown. That's the big one I do.
That's great.
Oh, you're one of
Isn't
those
that
people
fun?
who picks that, and then people are like, "Okay, guy," and then you can actually do it.
And then you actually do it, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Right? And then everybody has a good time. You get people clapping. It's a great
Oh, it's
time.
the best. Jeremy's
yeah.
one of those guys too. He'll pick like some crazy.
Yeah, if
crazy shit.
anyone has Joker and the Thief,
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
going
it
to
is.
do it.
Joker and the Thief is so sick too.
I just always do should have been a cowboy because I just go all
Brooks and Dunn, of course.
Hell yeah!
That's a nice one.
Throw a little
Nice
country
work.
twang in your voice, and you can sing anything.
Yeah.
dance around.
I was singing some country at karaoke last year at Cascade Riders, and Arlie Sorg totally called me out for it. he's like, "You got pretty country up there."
We can bring it out at will.
That's fair.
Yeah, you're
That's
a
fair.
country boy.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere.
But Montanans do not have Southern accents.
Nope.
We just
They
don't.
do
Some of them
Sound-
do.
Cutbankians sound more like Canadians than we do Southern people. We have a little Canadian in us. But Seth,
Oh sure.
what are you drinking?
This segment brought to you by the people of Montana
And Canada.
Like and subscribe.
and Canada. So tonight I'm having Maker's Mark 46, which is barreled in French oak barrels. So
Okay.
Nice.
it's delicious. No bitters, only a little bit of ice.
All right. The same. I got the big cube, as they call it. at
The
bars.
big cube. I didn't have a
love
big
a
cube.
big
Typically,
cube.
I'll do a big cube because it melts slower, right? But keeps it nice and cool, doesn't water it. But
It's very nice.
we work with what we have.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
We do.
Um,
Speaking of that,
All right.
fun facts for Fever Dream. It's always harder to find them for books. Were you
It
guys
is,
able
man.
to dig anything up?
I don't have any that jumped out on me because again, you're right. It's always hard to find it. Other than, I mean, in the debate, Seth stole my favorite one, which is like, this is crazily one of George R. R. Martin's first books, like
Yeah.
his first
It's
big
his
success,
first novel. He takes the big swing
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
insane. Like,
It
because
is insane.
I did not. I mean, I read this a while ago, but I remember it because it stuck with me because I'm a big fan. You're not going to be surprised by that. And yeah, I was just like, first novel, really? This is okay, fine. I guess you were just always going to be great.
This novel put him on the map. His second novel sent him to the poorhouse when he did the Armageddon rag, and nobody bought it. He said when Martin talks about it, he says he went from getting I think it was 5-figure advances, probably in the $50,000 range, to all of a sudden now they were 4-figure advances. And so that's what sent him to Hollywood, where he was a television writer on the new Twilight Zone revamp when they did that. But most famously, he did Beauty and the Beast, starring, I think it was Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman as the Beast. It was a television show.
Ron Perlman was the Beast.
Ron Perlman was the Beast. Yeah.
Oh my god!
But they had a bunch of rules. So that they would write in the script that the Beast tears someone apart because he's the Beast. But they're you can't really have him rip someone apart. So they would just show him jumping at someone and knocking them out. And George was like, that's bullshit, right? So then he goes from that, and then he's doing script work, and then he starts working on the revamp of the Twilight Zone, which I think came out in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I think he may have also worked on the Twilight Zone film. And then I think A Song of Ice and Fire, A Game of Thrones came out in 1991, 1992, something like that. And that's what started to push him as one of the big fantasists. But it wasn't until after the second book came out that his career started taking off again as a writer, where I think he was able to leave Hollywood. Interestingly enough about this, Fevre Dream is the one book that he wants the most to be put onto film. And he's so hardcore about it. He's already written the screenplay, and there's 2 rules that if anyone's going to do it, they have to use his screenplay and they cannot hire another writer to do a treatment on it. And Disney had bought the rights for it. That fell through. And then he met with Guillermo del Toro to try and get him to do it. But now he's met with 3 other directors, 2 of which he goes, they're very, very good. They would be amazing. And then he goes, the third one would be pretty good too. And you're like,
that third guy's like, what the fuck?
Right? And Martin fell in love with steamboats after a trip to Dubuque, Iowa, where they used to make a lot of the steamboat materials. And there's a big historical museum about steamboats there, because I think that runs up by the way of the Missouri. But that's where Dubuque is mentioned in the novel, briefly, I think. And then, but that's where Martin fell in love with it. And inside of Martin's house, he has I think it's like a 1/20th replica of the Fevre Dream that someone built for him.
That's
and
awesome.
It's just in this glass case. So if you look at the pictures that they have of his house, you can see it. And it's
that's awesome.
Super cool. I mean, those are all the little snippets I know about it, except for the excerpts from the book.
I mean, that's more than I could have dug up. My favorite fun fact about Martin is that he still writes on WordStar that runs on Microsoft DOS, which is one of its earliest operating systems.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, he's got all his templates
with it
in front of the brick, and the computer's trying to kill itself, and he just keeps reviving it.
He won't let it happen. Thank you, Seth. That's some amazing information. And now we're gonna. I don't have any other facts. Do you, Jeremy?
Oh, I have one more fun
Travis
fact.
does. Okay.
Ray Knowles is also watching, and
Yes,
hello,
Ray
I think she wanted us to know.
Wow.
So shout out.
Hey, this
to
is
Ray.
fun. This is fun. Ray, actually,
What up,
this
Ray?
was a Christmas gift from Ray. This is a whiskey glass it's Moby Dick inspired, and it's got the first opening chapter, or not the opening chapter, the first opening paragraph inscribed on it. So thank you to Ray Watt for that whiskey glass.
Oh, hey, speaking of that, I guess, since Moby Dick just keeps coming up, I do have kind of a fun fact, and it is not about the book.
Okay.
So my wife does listen to these on Spotify, but she is very behind. She just listened to an episode where we all did talk about Moby Dick briefly,
Mhm.
We all said you could skip it, and then Colin called us
Travis didn't
unwashed
say that.
barnacles.
I doubt
I
said
can't
that.
even fucking
Or-
believe you people said that
I-
on this
I-
podcast.
Jeremy,
In my
Moby
defense,
Dick.
I haven't.
will
I
lose it
doubt.
right now.
Steph,
Okay,
I
fine.
doubt I said that.
You probably didn't. Me and Clay definitely did.
Skip Moby Dick.
In my
Skip it.
defense, I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
I did
Fucking
skip it.
go
I
for
have
it,
not
bud.
read it, and
There's a
I'm
lot of books
probably
out
not
there.
going to.
Like it's the fucking episode of the season 2 The West Wing that you don't like because there's not enough Bartlett in it. It's,
Yes.
I can't
Yeah,
Exactly like that. You should skip that as
Exactly.
well. Skip
I-
it so fast.
I fucking
Look, the
tease
only way I
people.
could skip it harder is if a teacher, while I was at school, told me to read it, and then it's just game over.
Okay,
Listen,
but that
I-
makes sense.
We're supposed to be talking about Fever. If you think I won't turn this into a Moby Dick podcast right now, you are all mistaken. I will
God, please
hijack
do.
this plane, Mr. President.
I don't think that at all. And please don't hijack the plane.
All right.
Would you or
All right.
would you not skip Fever Dream?
No.
Why not?
Perfect. Tell us why.
Hey,
Fever Dream is Fever Dream is, in my estimation, it's Martin's singular work. I genuinely think that it's Martin's best book because it exists as like in a way you can see Martin building so many of the different things that he's going to put into A Song of Ice and Fire. Pale-skinned royalty types, some of them with violet eyes that we see that he becomes so enamored with when he's talking about the Targaryens. And in the same way, there's also the aspect of the dream. The Song of Ice and Fire comes from a dream that the Targaryens had. And in a way, it mirrors Joshua York's dream of how he wants to be able to have the people of the day, who are also called the cattle, that's us, that's humanity, and the people of the night, this sort of biologically vampiric people who are older than humanity. But the book itself, the richness of the prose, the realness of the characters, the transportive effect that Martin uses throughout all of the scenes, and Clay, you mentioned this, all of the scenes that take place on the river truly feel as genuine as if Mark Twain himself was writing them. I learned so much about how to write well from this novel. There are so many tricks that Martin does in this book that writers can learn from. One of them being one of my favorite little ones that he does is when he does a descriptor, he has this really photosynthetic move that he does when he says the coffee was hot, black, thick enough to chew. And the phonesthetic quality of that descriptor, it's one of those little things. Martin does this. He has this really unique knack when he talks about food, right? Or drink that makes you feel hungry, makes you feel thirsty. The character Abner Marsh, in getting into the characters, Abner Marsh is the most real character that George has ever written, because I think it's the most, I wouldn't say biographical character, but I think it's the most personally introspective character. And I think that Martin himself, while writing this, is wishing he could be on this grand adventure on this steamboat. And he meets this, this unbelievably wonderful character in Joshua York. And the way that Martin then uses, and I think this was actually Martin's way of talking about how he wanted to use 2 time skips inside of A Song of Ice and Fire. And what's really interesting is that in this book, Martin does a time skip back to provincial France to talk about Joshua York, which one of my favorite things he does is he goes from writing in the third person limited, and then he goes into first person in the section which is Of Days Dark and Terrible, which is when Joshua York is telling his story. And then he skips forward, I think it's is it 7 years, 11 years or something, 7, 11, or 13, one or the other. Those 3 numbers are important in the book. It's one of those. And he just says fever years. And it's all about how Abner Marsh simply misses Joshua York and the life that he tries to build, and how the steamboat industry is all falling apart and everything that he loved about the world is vanishing. And then Joshua York comes back into his life. Like any great romance, the lovers find one another, they struggle together, they lose one another, and then they come back together. And I think it's a seminal novel about romance, beauty, masculine love that can exist between two people, fidelity, how we choose to trust each other as men, and also the toxic aspects of who we are as well. So those are sort of my initial thoughts about the novel. I don't know if that's too much.
It's fantastic.
I love that. That's your opening statement, my guy. That's you're my favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite people to have on, brother. Thank you. Sure. I can. I didn't really have to lie in my argument either. I meant everything I said. I do love this book. I loved it immediately. It was the first Martin book that I read. And I didn't even realize it was the same author when I first read Game of Thrones either. I don't believe.
The writing style is completely different. Now, granted, he's doing third person limited with Abner Marsh. And so we so very quickly come to love Abner Marsh. And also he's got a great fucking opening line. What is the opening segment? He's like, everybody's like, oh, well, you need to get the reader's attention. Literally, he goes, here to see a man named York. You got such a man here? And you're like, he's literally knocking on the table. And the guy's like, oh, Captain Marsh, haven't seen you for 2 years. Terrible what that happened with that ice storm. Terrible. He's like, never you mind about that. Like, it's just immediately you're transported into this moment you're transported into the time with the elocution of the dialogue, with the way that Abner Marsh is like big and fat, and you're immediately just like, this isn't your typical like main character, right? They call him literally the ugliest man on the river. That's his nickname.
Not subtle at all. They're very honest about that whole
so
thing.
Good.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. You feel immediately like you're a part of the world. It sucks you in right away. It's painted in every nook and cranny of the story through the prose. I love the way Martin describes characters quickly, succinctly, effectively. Like he's, like you always reference that one Stephen King bit, Trav. But he does that all the time with a lot of characters. Every time I meet a character, I feel like I get to know them very quickly. And that makes it, and because of the way he puts them in extreme circumstances, but again, they're those ones that feel realistic. They're those ones that you feel like you can still relate to. Even as outlandish as they get. It starts off with a guy who just loves what he does, and just has been doing it his whole ass life. And he knows every single thing about it. He does it automatically. And like you said, Seth, that's not usually our main character. A lot of the time, I feel like our main character is trying to escape their occupation. They're feeling shackled down by something like that. But Abner Marsh is just a riverman through and through, and he's good with that. And what a great name, by the way.
Abner Marsh.
Yeah, it's a sick name.
And Joshua York. Like Joshua York is like you read that and it's just like high class. It just like jumps off the page. Is this like snooty? I loved that too, and it's so simple.
Yeah. I kind of hate on Joshua York a little bit, but that's just because I have to try to say it a lot of times on this show. I don't know why it's hard for me to say, but it doesn't roll off my tongue very well. But yeah, I mean, Seth already gave a pretty good description of everything I love about it as well. Honestly, that's just what I would add. What did you think, Trav? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, please go ahead, Travis.
I was a big fan. It's been a while, but I do want to talk about something like personal. Of this book also came at like the perfect time, and that's fun to share those moments when that happens. Of like, it's a book about steamboats in the South, and so it has like that feel of the world. And I think I would have got that regardless, but I was actually working in a gravel pit for my uncle 30 miles outside of Jackson, Tennessee. So just like the thick of the woods, hot as hell. It's like July in Tennessee. And every day I was working in a dump truck with no AC. And I would like drive up to this pile of rocks and wait for myself to be loaded. And while I was waiting, I was picking up my Kindle and reading Fevre Dream. So I just have like both loved the prose of this book and the characters and all of that. And at the same time, I was like, I could feel it. I could feel the heat. I could feel the humidity. And I was going home to this like southern home every night and being like, oh yeah, like vampires would definitely be around here, like for sure.
Right.
So
you were Harry Mike Dunn. That's who you were. Right. You were the roustabout guy.
Yeah. So that's fun. And I'd love to, maybe after the break, that might be one of my questions if anyone's had, so think on that. Anyone's had one of those experiences where a book actually like connected with a moment of your life that made it feel even more real and made you feel that kind of tangible truth. So yeah, that's everything you guys said. Plus I just read it at the right time, man. And that really hit different.
Even the minor characters in the book, Jonathan Jeffers, Whitey, the engineer, the pilots that they get, like every single character that Martin introduces, even though some of them only have about 20 pages total in the book, like all of the, what's the right way to put this in a way that honors the book enough, the way that I want it to. The very best thing any writer can do is make the world feel lived in and have the characters cast a shadow in that world. And every single one of those characters not only has a relationship with the river, right? Abner Marsh, obviously, grew up in Galena near the Fevre River. So, and he says that worked on all sorts of boats, right? Worked on a wharf boat and a pole boat, like all of those things, right? And then the pilots have specifically different attitudes, right? Like Jonathan Jeffers with his dark, right down to his dark ciphering soul, which is how Martin describes him, right? And so everyone on the boat, it feels like even though they are intercut, and only to have certain moments when you read their dialogue, when you see the prose of them, they all feel very real, right? And it makes you think like, I would have really loved to go up the Mississippi River on this steamboat, on this 347-foot steamboat, right? You would want to do that. Like, and when one of my favorite chapters is when when Abner takes Joshua onto the boat for the first time, and it's before it's finished. And like Martin will do fun things instead of telling you like that the paint is wet. He'll have Abner say like, make sure or watch what you touch. Paint's still wet, right? And he says that, and you're like, now that's visualized in your mind the fresh white paint all over everything, right? And it's really fun. You can tell Martin loves things like he does both ice and fire in that section where he talks about the lamps burning, bringing everything to glorious, glittering light. And in the next paragraph, he says that the lamps, he says something to the effect of, the silver of the mirror is looking cold in the lantern light. Like it's just little alliterations like that, and it's just sprinkled all throughout the novel. Like it's insane to think that Martin was this highly capable this early in his career. No one writes a first novel with that much literary capability, I would say, in the genre field. I mean, it's extremely rare. The talent is through the roof on the book. Not to talk too much, but I do get super excited about this book.
Please talk all you want. And I got to jump in. I feel like you've watched this movie, so I'm going to tell you, and maybe I'm wrong, but I get the vibe. I think the movie equivalent for me with this book in my mind, since there's not a movie yet, isn't even a supernatural movie, but it's Master and Commander. Just like the accuracy of the attention to detail of the relationship between the men, like it gave me the same type of thing of like, just take Master and Commander and throw in vampires. Crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great comparison. That's a great comparison.
And I feel like a lot of stories can be improved upon by just like, throwing some vampires. Just throwing some vampires and you'll have a rollicking good time.
I wouldn't describe this book as a rollicking good time at any point, except when they get an opportunity to race the Southerner.
I was going to say that is the one time.
That's the one moment.
That's pretty exciting right there.
What do you say? What is it? He goes, all right, that's it. Whitey, get my lard. And they start chucking the lard in there and everything's like sparkling. And he says
awesome.
that the boat was sparkling and flaring out of its flowered top.
Just spitting fire. So good.
Jeremy, what did you think of
And putting the Southerner on ice.
Putting it on
Hey,
ice.
I'll tell you what I think, but first I'm going to tell you what I think of the United States Postal Service, who only got me this book by Monday evening. You bastards.
Seth,
now look,
you got to give us this show is brought to you by.
This show is brought to you by the United States Postal Service.
Like and
We're
subscribe.
sorry, but you are on my list, United States Postal Service, for getting my book all the way to Billings, Montana, before shipping it to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then to Colorado, and then back to Montana.
That
you
just sounds like
crazy dickheads.
flying anywhere from this state where it's like, oh, you're going to Denver? We're going to send you to Seattle and Portland first, and then you'll go to Denver.
No, it literally said on the tracking information, misship. Like, oh, whoops.
Yep.
We did this.
But you read it.
I am in the middle of chapter 6.
Copy.
Is where I am. So
chapter 6, that's the Julian plantation right now.
So
First trip to the plantation.
No, first trip to the
maybe.
plantation is chapter 3. Second
the
one is
last thing
chapter
that sticks
6.
out to me is Racing the Southerner, and now there's some questionable things going on with slaves on a boat, and it's fine.
Well,
yeah,
congratulations,
but what I
bud.
will say,
you've just finished the happiest part of the book.
Great. What I will say is that this is a very engrossing thing, and it's like it's incredible to see that like George R.R. Martin does this thing where he'll describe something in a way that makes you go, "Oh my god, we get it," and then he keeps going until you actually get it, and you're like, "Oh, oh."
That may be a unique perspective, as I have never felt that way reading this book. But maybe my perspective is unique.
No less than 5 times so far. And I'm like, oh, hello. And I mean, yeah, I enjoy that the book never tries to hide that these are Draculas. Like, we all know.
Sure.
The only people who don't seem to know are the people in the story, which is okay. Okay. I get it, but really? Okay.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
Look,
I don't know what that means.
In a story and you're presented with things that are literally impossible, but they are real. I get not going immediately to guess that, like, hey, this guy, he doesn't go out in the sunlight, and he drinks this thing that tastes like rotten something or other, but also booze, like, and he's like otherworldly. He couldn't be a Dracula because those things aren't real. But like,
I hear you.
Yeah, like I get why captain of a steamboat going up the Mississippi doesn't immediately think vampires, but like, come on.
Well, and that is Martin's contention, is that he tells Abner, he says, Abner, don't be a fool. Vampires aren't real, right? So, and that's why, you know, if you were going up the steamboat in the 1850s and somebody was like, hey, you think those guys are vampires? You'd be like, what? Vampires aren't real, brother. And then Joshua has specific instances where he talks about his certain predilections toward, like, he has an allergy to sunlight, that he keeps weird hours, that he's eccentric, like all these things. And then when he drinks the, what is it? How is it? Joshua describes it. He goes, it's a little bit of liqueur, a little bit of brandy, little bit of something else, tasting like none of them.
Doesn't taste like any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, tasting like none of them. Which again, that's George R. R. Martin used that cool trick that he does, where he'll give you, he'll go verb, comma, and then he'll hit you with a modifier that's like typically 3 syllables long, and it always falls. It's just, it just feels perfect to the reader's eye. Like it's very comfortable.
It's just like, yeah, give me more of these words. I just kind of want to chew on them. Oof.
On a much less pretentious level, there's definitely a part of me that was very guiltily like hoping there was like a Twilight scene where Joshua was like, "You know what I am. Say it."
What's the matter with you people?
I didn't
Look,
actually.
I'm just a little disappointed that they never make out. They don't even do it a little bit.
No, that's the thing. Like, this is one of my favorite things about the novel, is that it does the same. It is attempting to do what Tolkien does very effectively, which is to talk about fellowship, brotherly fidelity, fraternity. Right now, it also deals with some of the quite toxic presentations of that, which is like, if you shake a man's hand, you should be able to take him at his word, and like these ideas of like, there's a huge challenge in the novel is that all the female characters suck in the book, every single one of them. Valerie is a hollow shell of an actual character used only to sort of convey that, like, if we could have like normal sex instead of like vampire bloody sex and feasting inside of a hill, right, then she can get pregnant, and then humans can keep the mother from dying. And it's like, well, Valerie is effectively a sex slave. She's a slave to the blood, the red thirst. And then she kind of gets shoehorned in as sort of like a tragic figure whenever they escape the Fevre Dream for the 3rd time. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge of the book, is there's not really a female character who can stand up, who can really cast their own shadow, right? Every time Abner Marsh, we get from his perspective to talk about any of the female characters, it's always physical description or it's a seduction scene. And therein the novel fails. It does not have a female character that women could read the book and go, "Oh, I see myself in this narrative." Now, us as men, we'd be like, "Hey, this book's about dudes loving each other, doing hard labor, on a river."
That's what I sound like. Yes.
And there is a certain kind of nobility there, but it is a selfish nobility, and it's only strictly male. And so I think the book does fall down there, and we have to also call out, though it was written in 1982, it does use prejudicial terms of racial epithets that are no longer acceptable. And I think, they're never going to go back and change that, but that's something you have to say about the novel. That's a real challenge for it today. That and the absolute lack of any female character. Like, even at one point where he's like, there were women for a time for Abner Marsh, hard, stolid, what does he say? Square-faced women, right?
Yes.
Willing to love a man with all those steamboats, as if like he's got the money, ladies. That's what you really want, right? And so the novel does have some challenges there, but the idea of the fidelity, the love between these two people, the way that Joshua continuously breaks Abner's heart over and over and over again, right? And I think it's like, it's just such a beautiful representation of real life, in terms of like the people we love. Well, oftentimes they can let us down. They will lie to us. They will hurt us. But love persists throughout this book. And this is the book. This book taught me so much about how to write. It really did. Like, I love this book. It's probably my favorite book. I don't think it's the greatest book ever written, but it's probably my favorite book. I've read it at least 15 times.
Nice.
Seth, that's going to be our jump off question after the break, is you're going to be able to wax a little more about that, I hope, because I'm very, very interested in that topic. So I want to hear even more thoughts, and I'll try and set you up with a slow
softball pitch. I
for
appreciate
even more.
that. Yeah.
But Clay?
Yeah. So on that note, we've all said what we thought. Jeremy, did you want to say anything else? Were you good?
I mean, I could say that the riverboat is the silliest type of boat, but like, there's plenty of episodes.
I can't with this. What do we mean the silliest? How can it be the silliest? Have you seen a pontoon boat, my man?
Look, I'm not trying to anger you with
pontoons are pretty silly.
But
especially
that is
redneck,
just kind of happening.
Redneck pontoons made of like pallets.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The silliest type of boat is the redneck yacht that is a bunch of coolers lashed together with those bungee hooks.
Functionality, baby. Functionality.
She floats.
Is it? Yeah. Is it that?
It holds.
No, I want to hear that. I want to act in good faith. And I want to hear this argument from Jeremy so I can fucking lose it. But go ahead, Jeremy.
Jeremy, go ahead. Silliest boat on the river is the steamboat. Tell us why.
No. The silliest boat
on the river
of all the boats.
Oh, just not even anywhere.
Look, when we consider that boats for the ocean exist, the riverboat, like that has to take into account like the shallowness of bodies of water. Like that's a silly boat. That's a silly boat that can get just it can get grounded for no reason. And especially like they say in the book, the river changes every single time you try to navigate it. Like hey guys, I'm glad we stopped doing this and we started using regulated boats for traversing the river and left actual travel to planes and sensible boats. Okay?
Damn.
That's
Shots
just
fired.
Look, maybe I just don't share the big steam-powered stiffy that Marsh and Martin also have.
I think,
and that's okay.
Seth definitely needs a 5-minute break.
Seth might need a 5-minute break.
Is he going to turn the hat backwards?
I got so hot right now.
He took the coat off.
I'm not doing this to you on purpose.
I know,
but I am still doing it.
I don't blame you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to say that. I do blame you.
Yeah, that's fair.
What's the nicest way I can say this?
Don't bother.
There's a particular type of adventure that lives inside the heart of every person. And there are elements of foregone days where there was a time when the world was not so hurried. Things were not so rushed, where it wasn't so much about, man, how long is it going to take me to get through security to get on my plane to get where I am going? But like Mark Twain says in Life on the River, that there is a certain type of adventure that can only be had in the slow going between place to place, where all things can be seen, where the country, which is the thing, the whole thing, which all of it can be seen in its grace and splendor. And that is what these forms of travel, though they are antiquated, yes, they're huge steamboats that chew up wood and they cause CO2 pollution and all that, and that's all bad. But just because a thing is antiquated, just because it takes its time getting to where it's going, that slow procession toward where we're going allows us to take in the world around us, right? It is the antidote to selfishness. It's the antidote to seeing the grandness of the self. And instead of seeing those things, see the largeness of the world. And that is why steamboat travel is not silly. I think that's dismissive. At worst, it's intellectually dishonest. It is antiquated, but what it provides in its type of I don't want to say it's sweetness. That's what Martin is presenting. But the notion that just because these things seem silly to us, there's still a type of romance that exists inside of them that is intrinsic to the way that they present the world to us, in forcing us to slow the fuck down. in a world now where everything has to be, I want this now, I need to get where I'm going. But what about the world that surrounds the destination? It is not so much just about where we are disembarking. It is about the journey to get where we are trying to go. That's why people love this era of American history. It is why they love stories about people going on wagon trains, people going on actual steam trains. They love those things because it reminds us of a time when things were slower. That to get to a place, that the journey to get there, the people that we meet, and especially at this point in the American history where everything was so much a melting pot of Slavs and Swedes and Germanic people, like, you know, cussing and drinking and slapping their kids, right? It's the way Martin presents it, right? And I don't think that that's silly at all. I think that that's something aspirational. And again, that's for me. So when you say the word silly, I have a sort of feeling about that I have to express, which I've done for the last 3.5 minutes.
That's so good.
That's me.
You know, I love setting out a soapbox for you to just leap on. And that's wonderful.
I want to tell you
I'm
that
never going to not love that.
I was not snapping sarcastically, Seth. You're speaking my language, and I can't.
Yeah, no, I'm on board.
Talk to you about this stuff in person. Also, if I can throw in, as I want to do, a book recommendation. If you agree with everything Seth just said, and you're looking for a modern book that was written last year that kind of captures a bit of that feeling, I highly recommend David Nichols' You Are Here. It's
You Are Here.
Book about hiking the English countryside, and I think it captures a lot of that. So
also, I will say...
And anything by John Krakauer has the exact same effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will say, just because something is silly doesn't mean it's not worth your time. I would absolutely ride a fancy steamboat.
We all
Silliness isn't taking away from that.
I don't know, brother. I don't know. I hear the word silly and I hear dismissiveness, but I get it. Everyone's allowed to have their position.
This is coming from Jeremy, though, and I do assure you that in Jeremy's language, silly is generally a positive adjective.
All right. Well, then I'm with Jeremy.
I gotta back his play on that one. I do.
Yeah, man, we're on the same team.
It doesn't feel like it when it comes to steamboats.
I know.
If you guys
Everything I say just.
You know what gets people on the same team, you guys?
A 5-minute break.
A 5-minute break.
A 5-minute break.
Yeah. Everybody pop off your camera.
Let's
we'll be
do
back
it.
in 5 minutes. Thanks for listening. Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome and creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains, like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know?
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
Everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor, slaughtering it the entire time. Main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's like very like hard-nosed at the beginning. And then like, I will say another pro of this movie is like their chemistry is hot. And like, I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been like, ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Like, fuck. And he's like, and then later when they like are like kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was like two lesser actors, I think it would have been like an eye roll, like felt cheesy, but like you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending like, you know, Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah. Dedicate
Still,
that time.
settle
You're willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so
life.
good. That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible.
We back.
Yeah.
Follow
What a
that
great
screen,
commercial.
people. It
That's
is.
so good.
Follow that screen, people. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And you get hopefully more of Seth giving us a lot of awesome wisdom quotes.
Yeah.
And Tom Bombadil.
Flipping out.
I love.
If
Hey.
you will.
I don't think he flipped out.
I've never been described as a calm man.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It means you're surrounded by honest people.
That is correct. Right.
I would love to kick off just by following up on that thing you talked about, which I 100% agree with, that this is a very good exploration of both the antiquated ideals of some of the antiquated ideals. But I think some of them are going to ring true forever, of sort of masculine friendship, of honor and codes between people, as well as this balance we have between romance, intimacy, and true like intimate friendship. And I love that you mentioned Tolkien, because I think no one does it better. I recently read the short story Leaf by Niggle, which made me cry.
Leaf by Niggle? Yeah, that's his first one. That's his first one.
So good, and expresses that type of relationship beautifully. And yeah, I would just love to hear more of your thoughts on that, as well as Jeremy and Clay. And I have some of my own at the end. But like, how do we balance, as writers, how do you balance having characters who maybe are just intimate friends, and you're trying to express that deep type of friendly love that does exist, and not steep too far into like making your readers think that there's an unfulfilled like physical love there. So that balance seems tricky, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I don't know so much that it's tricky. So I wrote a book. It's the second book in my Blackwell series. It's called All the Prospect Around Us. And it's the story about two friends, one of them who is an atheist and the other one who is a minister, or he's trying to become a minister. He's effectively a pastoral character. And they developed this very deep bond. Y'all probably known people like this. So I have known people who, while they are not religious, they have a deep understanding of the historicity of the text and revolving around the Bible, right? And so one of the ways I conveyed these two characters' friendship is that they met in college. One of them was trying to be a minister. The other one was in sort of a archaeologist student who'd written papers on the sort of the biblical period of the Middle East. And so they had this connection. And because of one of the archaeologist character, he has this deep personal belief about the story between Cain and Abel. And so we start off chapter 2, and it starts off with this character saying, Cain loved Abel, right? It's not something we typically associate with the idea. And he goes on to present that this is the first, the story of Cain and Abel is a tragedy. It's not a murder mystery, right? It's not a thriller. It's a story about the usurpment of the way that brothers should love each other. He says, imagine that these were the first brothers, right? Imagine, if you will, the two of them living inside of the first tent after their parents are cast out of the garden. Imagine the younger brother imagine Abel crawling into Cain's bed sheets and saying, I had a nightmare. And Cain saying, it's okay, little brother, I'll protect you. Right? It's these sort of brotherly aspects of things, and that this is a great tragedy. And I sort of do a big wind up to effectively say that, yes, Cain loves Abel. And he did love Abel. If brothers are to believe that there's an intrinsic love between them, which I think that there is, right? But whatever Cain felt inside of his heart at losing God's favor to Abel, that whatever that was must have been powerful enough to destroy the bond between he and his brother, right? And I think that that's along with Martin's work and that he does in Fevre Dream, and along with J.R.R. Tolkien's work, is that there is a particular kind of relationship that can exist between men that's a different type of depth that can exist with women. It's not to say that it's lesser or that it's not as deep, but there is a particular kind of fellowship, a type of, it's fraternity. That's where the word comes from, the frateros, right? That this bond goes deep, and it's this aching need. And where it becomes toxic is when we so deeply seek the approval of our male counterparts and peers that we are willing to go along with the status quo that puts women inside of a sort of prison hulk, that makes minorities, people who do not look like us, who do not look like the brotherly kin, it casts them aside and calls them enemy, right? So that's the toxic side of it. The beautiful part of it, like we see in Fevre Dream, is where these two men meet and they find this common unity in, I wish to travel the river in luxury and privacy. And Abner Marsh tells Joshua, he goes, well, I can give you that, right? I can show you this world that you're longing to see, right? And these two people, they find a kind of completion in one another, in this brotherly affection. And none of that needs to be sexual. Not that it can't be. It certainly can become that if the writer so wishes to take that turn. But what it says is it is a unique thing when a man can meet another man and find a portion of his soul's counterpoint in that other man, right? And so you don't have to make, there can be an intimacy there that exists outside of sort of the sexual scope. That's one of the things Tolkien does extremely well in the bond between Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, right? I think it's oftentimes toxically, we oftentimes frame it as men who have been to war together, men who have been in the foxhole together, and that it can only exist in that sort of Spartan militaristic idea. But what Tolkien does so beautifully is that he expresses this love between these two people as they are both on a journey, willing to suffer for each other. And that's the type of human connection that can exist. And writers who are attempting to do that, we try to convey it in such a way that these two men love each other in a way that is, after a fashion, when you choose a brother, it can be even closer than a blood brother, right? The people we choose, the family that we choose to make, oftentimes later in life is the family that we have the longest, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question, Travis? I think it does.
I think so, yeah. And I think that's a big reason why I compare this to Master and Commander is I think there's another part of that intimacy between true male friends male friendship is that sometimes I think men often can fill that role of like reining you in from your own vices. And I think Master and Commander does that really well of like Captain, I'm
Audrey.
so bad with the name. Audrey is like such a sort of stoic general type. He's like a man of action. The mission comes first. He's going to sail into whatever the British Navy needs him to do. And his counterpart, I'm bad with names, the Doctor. Oh, I lost it. Anyway, his counterpart, the Doctor,
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany. Right.
Paul Bettany plays the Doctor. Paul Bettany's character is this man of like vision. He's the philosopher. He's the medicine man. He wants to like stop and walk the island and find the things and explore the world in all its minute details. And those two like complement each other so well. And that's what's beautiful about the movie. And I think that's what's beautiful about this book is like Abner Marsh is not Joshua York. Like they are very different personalities that complement and counteract each other super well. And I've found that in my own life is like most of my closest friends, I disagree strongly on at least one thing. And I need them to like test myself against to be like, hey, I believe this. And they're like, that's dumb. And I'm like, okay, now I have two options. I either give up on this idea that I have, or I sharpen it and attack again and see if I can like, I can refine that into something more intelligent and
I think you're
good.
I think you're wonderful, Travis. Can I push back on that a little bit?
Please do. Yeah. Maybe attack's the wrong word. That was a bit of aggressive language, but yeah.
No, it's not about it being aggressive language. I think that there's a kind of this sort of happened. There was like this big push, I don't know, in the 1990s and the early 2000s, and it came right out of fundamentalist Christianity. That every man inside of him has this idea of warrior, conqueror, poet, lover. Right. And like,
I got
what are
maybe
you
two of those,
right?
Maybe two of those.
Right. And so like, and I know we're taking that idea from Paul, right? Where iron sharpens iron, right? Brothers arguing against each other over philosophical differences, where at the time they're trying to define what is going to be the post-Jesus doctrine of the apostolic church. Right. And that's why we have the big kerfluffle between Paul and Peter. Right. And they're arguing with each other about whether or not circumcision is a requirement, right? For, and that's why, he's like, but in Christ, there is no difference between Gentile or Jew, basically saying like circumcision is no longer the marker God uses to claim his people because God claims all people. Right. So when we talk about iron sharpening iron, I think that there's right now within, and this is a broad generalization, but within the American, I can only say the American white male, there is this idea where if you think one thing, I combat it and you must change, right? You must contend with that point. The challenge with that is that not all ideas are equal. And the marketplace of ideas for certain attitudes is no longer up for debate, right? This is especially when we talk about men's position in the world. Men will say like, well, brother, you got to get out there. You got to work. You got to be tireless. If you're dealing with bullshit, shut the fuck up about it. Get back to your work, do your thing, be tough, be strong, be everything all the time. And one of the beautiful things about this book is Abner Marsh's fragility.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me refine what I said. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because I'm with you 100% on, I think the iron sharpens iron idea is completely misunderstood, especially if you view that like contextually. And I think you're right that there has to be a fragility there. And I think that's what I mean by like true male friendship. Not that it can't be fulfilled in any other kind of relationship, but what I found very true with my like closest male friends is that I trust them to tell me the truth, despite any type of fragility that would come, and like tell it to me in a very nice, like they're never sometimes dicks about it, but most of the time with in a way that they know I'm like going to receive it and I'm going to like internalize and be like, oh, And a lot of the times that is those fragile points of like, I'm on a soapbox and like, I don't actually have a leg to stand on. And it's not really me sharpening the idea to attack again. That's where I think I went wrong with that language, but it's hey, I'm going to tell this person the honest thoughts that are coming from me. And I know that they respect and love me enough to tell me what they actually think and not just be like, yeah, dude, keep going. To actually be like, hey, that's a breakdown. Yeah, I don't know if you're actually right on this one. Maybe you were wrong in that situation. And I think fragility is good.
I do. And I would like, and I see your point. One of the things I would also say is that one of the reasons that this culture position has built up in us is because so many American men, and I hate to say this, they do not see women as equals who can have these equal conflicts and relationships with us. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think that that's an enormous problem in American culture. I think that men are like, yeah, men come together at the table and we have big discussions and then we come up with shit. Right? Have we all not here suffered the talk of many men around a table where there wasn't a woman to provide a position that we were all willing to listen to? Like that is one of the big challenges. And I think it's one of the biggest problems with the book is that there's no female voice to push back against. I think that it would be, I think that the novel would only be increased if either if Valerie had been given a greater position, like at least because all Valerie does is all she does is lambast Abner, right? She's like, all you do, look what you did to him. He was the pale king and you with all your words, right? Just this, like, just turned into a nagging scarecrow argument, right? And then Jonathan's just like, Valerie, please, like, stop being so dramatic if you could. Like, that's what she's relegated to. One of our big challenges, I think, and I'm not trying to make this so much about like the problem with men in the world as we talk about Fevre Dream, but it's an enormous challenge that where is the equality of ideas coming from the female perspective? We as writers are, I feel very firmly about this. If a writer is not introducing a woman into the narrative who is not a sexual object or a motherly figure or a figure of what pregnancy and how wonderful pregnancy is, we've done a great disservice to all the great women thinkers, right? The great philosophical contributions of women, like strong women who came up with ideas and who were shouted down by men going, well, madam, you didn't go to university and you didn't know Greek and Latin like I did, right? But I think that there's a real there's a pestilential position with us, right? To say like male fraternity is a deep and special thing. And I don't think, and I'm not suggesting anyone on this podcast thinks this, but I think it is a broader problem where men think that fraternity is only a masculine thing. Does that make sense? Like, and I'm not again soapbox. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to blow anybody up. I'm just saying,
no, blow them up.
Right. The framing of women as outside, that they are incapable, that they don't deserve. Deserve's not even the right word.
They maybe don't belong to this idea.
Women and their procession of ideas is something that exists in the retinue and cannot exist inside of the lance. Does that, to use a medieval, right? The lance of knights, and you have the retinue supporting them. We never think about all these like incredible contributions that women have to say that's deeply outside of a toxic male perspective, right? And Martin failed, and I know it was 1982, but the book does not pass that examination of time. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to take off about this. I just think it's important. Does that make sense?
No, I think it is important. And if this wasn't a literature primarily show, I would talk to you about this for like hours. But, but to return to the original question,
I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'm off topic. I apologize.
You're doing great.
I'm telling you, Seth, I would talk with you about this. I hope we get a chance.
Come to StokerCon, Travis. Come to StokerCon.
I'm coming. I got my tickets.
Go to StokerCon.
Perfect.
But
Jeremy,
talk
come
about
to
any-
StokerCon. Everybody come to
I
StokerCon.
am
We're
coming
all
to
coming.
StokerCon. It's going to be great.
Clay and Jeremy, I want you to any of that you want to comment on, but like, and then kind of tying it back to the original question of like, this is where I think these are hard things to pull off because even Martin did it really well, but he also missed an element that we kind of see is lacking now. But these like male friendships that are intimate that but don't necessarily branch into like a romance or, as we see that word. Where are some examples you see that popping up is very well done? And as a writer, have you tried it? Do you think it's difficult?
Well, I mean, and this is one of those things that's just going to happen is like readers will ship anything they can get their grubby, crusty little mitts on. Okay. And the flip side of that is that manly men, toxically manly men, are going to eject people from their idea of masculinity whenever something sort of conflicts with that ultimate manly man thing. So like, yeah, you've got like the Frodo Sam thing, and the only thing you can do with it is just try to be true to the sort of relationship you are intending to portray. Have friends, be friends. It's okay for people to like love and support each other without making out. Most of the friendships I have don't actually end with making out, which is good. I'm married. But that's just, look, you know what happens when two men just get along and support each other? It just kind of rules. And that's
nothing to worry
okay.
about at StokerCon next year, Megan.
It's great. But look, I get it. Everyone. I get it, the internet. We all, as much as we all want Frodo and Sam to rail one another, they don't have to. That's not what their relationship is about. That's not what their story is about. And yeah,
let the record show I want that 0%.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Travis, I'm reading between your lines. We all want that.
I don't want
but
it
hey,
either.
they don't need to. That's the official stance that I'm taking here. We all want that, and they don't need to.
I just don't. I honestly, I am a bit of a Grinch in this regard, but I do feel like once romance is introduced to a story, it oftentimes monopolizes everything else. I like that if I know what kind of story I'm getting into. Sometimes it doesn't heighten the experience for me. Sometimes it just tilts the experience into a territory that I didn't necessarily sign up to read. It does depend on the story. Romance does not always heighten my experience. So I will say that's more my reason for not wanting that.
I
like the power of a platonic friendship.
Yeah,
I mean, I do too.
And if you add the sexual element, it changes the relationship inherently on a level that, frankly, most friendships in real life never recover from.
See, that is a position that, and I agree with you to a certain extent. We have to, like, if we pour back all the way to Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, living in the Greek world, these things are interchangeable, right? And we have, and this is not directed at you, Clay, this is directed at the position, right? The overarching position. That there can be deep sexual and intimate and romantic love between these people. If Sam and Frodo had fallen in love genuinely and they had become a couple, would anyone have tried to forestall what that story was still about? I don't think so.
No.
Right? But I do agree with you. Like, sometimes you want to get in, you're like, hey, maybe these fucking people don't need to fucking fall in love and start having sex with each other. Like, I get that. Like, I do. But we're talking about big R romance here. Right? We're not talking about little R romance. We're talking about that classical notion of things like valor, fidelity, filial piety, those types of things. And I think that when we start talking about like if Sam and Frodo had kissed at some moment, if they had given each other the not necessarily the lover's kiss, but the kiss between brothers, like Paul says, right? Doesn't Paul say you should greet each other with a holy kiss, right? That's what he's talking about. But I do think that I just want us to be careful about, or not careful. I think that it's important for every writer to say, like, if within your story there develops this romance between these two people, that's for the characters to decide. That's not for the author to decide,
for sure.
Right? And we totally jive on that.
That's a completely different. Yeah, that's a completely different.
That's
story,
a horse
though.
of a different color. Right?
I am speaking of a story in which that did not develop, and from which I drew a very powerful message about a type of love that didn't need to involve any of that. And I would hate to see it changed, so I don't want it to change at all. And I think Fevre Dream is another good example of that. Honestly, like the same exact thing happens. It is a beautiful friendship. Your argument was great. I was going to say very similar things about how York is the biggest piece of shit in the world because he claims to be a seeker of beauty, but he's got the most beautiful friendship right in front of him.
And he doesn't
just
see it,
keeps
right?
blowing it up because he just can't stop lying. So like,
damn, bro.
Those love is a powerful thing in so many different forms, and my only point there was that sometimes romance can sort of hijack it a little bit
and
because it's so powerful, it's so relatable, and it's so vulnerable. Like I understand all the reasons. It's all the primary tension points. Like, boom, you have I can relate to this. You have I know how this feels. You have like I literally like I'm getting a little hot right now. Like you have all these
brother.
feelings. Yeah, we've all felt it. Anybody who's read enough books has eventually been like, damn, Steven, slow down there. No.
Slow down a little bit, brother.
Holy
Jesus Christ.
Like,
Damn, bro.
But yeah, it's like the most vulnerable position people can be in at any given time.
Yeah.
No matter where they're from or who they are. Like if you're in love, you're never more vulnerable than that. You will get naked with that person. You will let that person put handcuffs on you. You will like if they want to kill you.
Yeah, let's start talking about it, brother.
They're
Hell yeah.
Be able
let's
to
get
do
into
it.
Right?
Again,
it's a literature podcast.
Nothing to worry about, Megan.
We can get a little freaky in here, but I think
this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's hijacking it right now.
This is the perfect example. Clay has hit the nail on the head. There's a moment toward in the final act of the book where Joshua says, I'm sorry that the Postal Service took so long for you, Jeremy, so you haven't gotten to this point yet. Yeah. But where Abner realizes that Joshua has lied to him to get him to come to the Julian plantation, that Joshua says, I knew you would have come for her, talking about the boat. And Abner says, I would have come for you. Right? And that's what Clay's talking about. That's the perfect encapsulation of like, men can be in love with each other, right? And that love that they are in love with each other, it can exist across multiple spectrums of human expression of that love. But in this book in particular, it's talking about that fraternity, right? That like I loved you enough that I would throw away the last years of my life when I am diminished in all strength, which is what's happened with Abner at that point, right? He's old. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's not the man that he once was. He doesn't have the resources. He doesn't have the people following anymore because they've all died or they wandered off the river and he never saw them again. But he still goes, which is why it's beautiful when he's like, when Joshua writes him that letter, you can find me at, I think it's Gallatin Street in Natchez under the Hill. And when he writes him that letter, then Abner says, he tells his cleaning lady, where did you put my white coat? As if to say, I'm going to put on the robe of this friendship one last time. I'm going to have one more adventure. I will return, even though this person has hurt me before. What deeper stroke of friendship could we find? Especially for Joshua York at that point, who's abandoned not only by his own people, but all of the rest of his life. So it's a great point by Clay.
Yeah. And I think it's disheartening a little bit with a lot of stories that happen that like the almost all of the love that gets shown to us in books, movies, whatever, is romantic when it is like the most realistic to acknowledge that almost all of the love that a person feels isn't like that. Like the love between friends, family, chosen family, whatever, like a tiny percentage of that is romantic and ends with, making out in sexy times.
Sure.
I
mean,
I think Seth made a good point though of like that's not necessarily the only thing tied to capital R romance.
Romance.
We can have action,
fidelity,
and that's kind of
love.
what I asked this question originally about, was like there's a true intimacy to a deep friendship that is basically a romance, and it's not.
Go ahead.
But we don't have to like attribute it to only the physicality that sometimes presents itself with romance. And I think you're right to point out the Greek, Seth, of like the definition of love according to, I think it's Aristotle. Correct me if it's Plato. I get them mixed up sometimes.
It's Aristotle, brother.
Willing the good of the other. Like there's the levels, and true love to the greatest extent is I want you to be the best you can possibly be as a person. And if that causes you pain, that's still love. That's why love isn't divorced from love isn't just good feeling, because anyone who's had maybe a good parent or a good role model knows that sometimes it's true love to be like, you're being a dumbass, figure your life out. Like that hurts, but it's true love.
Right.
Yeah, I think Seth's right on like that's capital R romance, and it doesn't have to be a sex scene or a makeout scene to be called romance in a sense.
Right. And C.S. Lewis says this. I love this. He says, love exists unto itself for the sake of itself, and a friend who loves a friend loves him not only despite his flaws, but cannot help to seek their removal. Right. I think that's from The Great Divorce. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. But that's what big R romance is all about. That's why this book is so romantic. This book is about two dudes falling in love because they're on an incredible journey down the river, and their willingness to throw it all away. Like Abner Marsh willing to do it first, Joshua York later saying, that's why, like, I know, because, Joshua's reticence is he can't kill Damien because Damien is like, also, we haven't even talked about how Damien is an incredible fucking villain, right? But he can't kill Damien. He's one of his people. He's my people. He's one of the people of the night, Abner, but then he comes to a point where he realizes that sometimes a bad boy simply got to get put down. Right. And they have this incredible bonding moment and which is actually Joshua not rejecting his nature, but by completely submitting to it. That's how he wins victory over Damien for the last time, right? And it is fucking awesome. I love this book. It's my favorite book. I've read it 10 billion times. I never get tired of it. And I'll say, like, I think for any young writer, like, so I believe that the epilogue to Fevre Dream is the single greatest epilogue ever written. The second best, people should all go out and read this. The second best epilogue I've ever read is from Josh Rowntree, The Legend of Charlie Fish. I think that's the second best. Like, if you haven't read The Legend of Charlie Fish by Josh Rowntree, you need to go out and pick it up today. It's by Tachyon Press. I love Josh's work. I think he's the single best pure Western writer working in the world today. But the epilogue, if a young writer wants to know how to get the ear of prose, like how to really hear it, right? And to know that you're doing the great work, is to read and understand how Martin does the epilogue for Fevre Dream. I memorized it the second time that I read the book because it was so good. Every time I read it, it gives the same feeling. That's the staying power of real fiction, right? When no matter how many times you read the work, that it gives you that same heart racing feeling, right? When you really feel the wellspring inside of you flooding up with water, like that's this fucking epilogue. The whole book is worth the epilogue, even if you don't like the previous, I think, 42 chapters.
I do love the epilogue as well. One of the low-hanging fruits I see about this book that I thought about using just for the sake of the debate, if I had to, was that the ending is like lackluster or people don't like it. That's a very common sentiment, actually. I've heard people say this book tries to end 3 times.
I think they're full of shit. Go ahead.
I agree. I would have used it for the sake of the argument, but I love the ending.
I do too.
That's something I loved about this book, and I have a question about it. But Travis, I know you have at least one more question, so I'll hold mine.
I think that was my question. I literally wrote here, how the hell do you end a book? Was my
Nice.
note from the debate, because
Yes.
yeah, I would love to hear. I'm not going to lie, I forgot the ending. I remember a lot of this book, but I don't remember that. And I haven't had time to pick it up in a while. But so maybe if you could, sorry, Jeremy, spoilers, give us a little insight into why you love it. And then I'd just love to know some of your thoughts on book endings, because I have read great books with bad endings. I've read bad books with
Like The
phenomenal
Stand
endings.
has one of the worst endings I've ever read in a book.
I've watched movies that try and do the ambiguous thing that I really love and fail. And I've watched movies that do the ambiguous thing to the best success. My favorite movie of all time does that. So I think endings are super important and can make and break a story. And yeah, first, what do you think of this one? What happens in it? And second, like, what makes a good ending for you? And when you write, how do you approach endings?
Joshua York decides to call on Abner Marsh one last time. And he leans upon the only friendship left in his life. And they go to the place where the Fevre Dream has been taken. It's been placed up into a dry bank of an indigo flats from a plantation where the story began, a plantation that's already ruined at the Julian plantation. Abner and Joshua take on Sour Billy Tipton, who's a real piece of shit character that I love to hate. I really love Sour Billy Tipton.
Real piece of shit.
He's a real fucking piece of shit. I get real upset about it. They go, they kill, or they shoot Sour Billy Tipton. Then they go and they're chasing after Damon Julian, and they're inside the Grand Saloon of the Fevre Dream. Joshua is put at a disadvantage when Damon has Abner Marsh. Abner gets hurt, and Damien requires Joshua to sit in the sunlight for the whole day, and the night is fading. Ultimately, Abner, at risk of himself, shoots Joshua. The beast inside of Joshua comes alive, and he's able to dominate Julian one last time, so that Damien is made subjugate in the way that he's done to so many people throughout his whole monstrous life. When Damon Julian is described, the beast inside of him was older than the rivers, older than the forests, older than man and all of his works, older than dreams, right? So it's like, real rich, right? And then the two of them, they defeat Damon Julian, and then Abner breaks one of the bottles open, and they drink together, which, if anyone here has read San Antonio Mission from Amid the Vastness of All Else, I basically steal that ending, right? And then it goes, right, seal it if you love it, right? And then it goes to the epilogue. And without going into the epilogue too much, because I'll get too emotional about it, what makes the ending great is that it speaks to both the permanence of the world and the impermanence of the people in it, right? That there was a world, a world filled with smoke and steam and whistles and fires everywhere, right? But it talks about that even though Joshua York, though he is immortal, Abner was not. And when Abner dies, he writes upon his tombstone, what is it? He says, Abner Marsh, 1805 to 1873. So we'll go no more roving so late into the night. From Lord Byron, who's a huge character, or it's a huge influence on the book. And the reason this ending works is because it expresses what I think is the most important thing. I would say it's the most important thing I express in my own work, which is all we have is each other. All we have is each other for the time that we have it, in the time that we choose to give it to those people, right? And for me, what makes an ending work, to answer your question specifically, Travis, what makes an ending work is, one, it has to feel earned. Nobody wants a pie in the face at the end of a book. Nobody wants that. And nobody wants a cop-out, which is what The Stand does, right? And I know that we all love The Stand, and Stephen King is the daddy of all horror and whatever, right? But the ending of that book does not serve its purpose, I don't think, right? And that's a personal opinion. So it has to be earned. It can't be a pie in the face. And what it has to do is it has to ring together like the single strike of a great bell. And it has to chime to all of those themes that have mattered throughout the book, right? You have to be able to tie them. Either you can do one of two things. You can either tie the knot all together, or you can, like Alexander, right, before the Gordian people, slash the knot in half. You can either fulfill the expectation. Thank you very much. The Alexandrian conquest of Persia was my focus in college. So you can either tie the knot all
This
together.
episode brought to you by Persian Empire.
This episode brought to you by the Alexandrian Macedonian conquest of Persia.
That's right. Macedonia, people, not Greece.
That's right. That's right. Like and subscribe.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
That's good too.
Those things. It's those two things. You can do one of those two things. And if you can really pull it together, the great ones tie it all together. The masters subvert expectation at the end, right? Like we don't like a great subversion is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, right? Frodo goes back to the Shire. The hobbits are all now super capable. They stop the scouring of the Shire. And then Sam's like, we're home. We made it. And Frodo says, you've saved the Shire, Sam, but not for me. That's a subversion, right? Mm-hmm. We expect Frodo to go home, to be safe, to live a life of a hobbit, but he can't. Why? Because he's changed, right? A great ending expresses the change of the character and then changes the world because of the change within the character. Mm-hmm. That's what makes a great ending. For me, there are lots of authors with other, perhaps better opinions, but then they wouldn't have been mine. So that's my thought anyway.
Yeah. I think what works. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. I thought, there were various points when Seth was talking that I felt like I was going to come in and be very contrarian to his, but, I don't try to, but it does seem like every opinion I have just serves to make Seth more angry in a different way.
True.
However, I can't help but agree, which I'm sure will also serve to anger him even more. But to me, the best ending to anything, be it a book, movie, TV show, whatever, is something that is both surprising and inevitable. Which is something that most books, movies, and TV shows cannot accomplish. At most, they accomplish one of those things most of the time.
Mm-hmm. I think too, Jeremy, if I can jump in, because I think
please do.
There's two brothers that people might disagree with some of their views. I love their writings about some symbolism, and the Pajot brothers, I've mentioned them on the show before. Mm-hmm. But Jonathan Pajot, one of them, he's an Orthodox Christian. He sees the world as like a story, and the way he talks about that has really changed. Because I think you're right about endings 100%. But Jeremy, to take it even further, that's not just movies and books. That's real life sports. Those are the things we look for that are both inevitable and surprising, and sometimes subvert our expectations if we love a comeback story. everyone loves the baseball home run that no one saw coming, but like that's what the sport is. So we also kind of saw it coming. We all love the Super Bowl champ that's the underdog. And then you get into like life, like one of the best character stories I've ever read was a nonfiction trilogy about George Washington and Benedict Arnold. And it was like these real people's lives were more compelling than most fiction I've read. Like, so I think there's a level to where we look for the things that are real in those stories that also just compel us with like real stories, you know?
That's for sure. You know, if you say what you will about Benedict Arnold, he was a bastard who we done dirty. Okay? It's both things.
I'm gonna get fired up.
We do not need to get into.
We're not going down that hole.
Okay,
we do not need to do that.
Good. Don't. Look, it's both things. He was insufferable and America did him wrong.
Nope. Don't do it, Seth. You gotta hold this one in, brother. Here's the thing for me.
He's getting away with it.
He's getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it.
Look, I'm getting away with nothing. History will see me as the villain, and that's fine.
That's true.
That is
hopefully
the present is also seeing
that is
me
to
as
say
a
if
villain.
history sees any of us at all at the end of it, right?
Yeah, history.
It won't.
That's an optimistic view for me to say that history will see me as anything whatsoever.
But Clay, you have opinions on endings?
Please.
I do. I agree with Jeremy's sentiment about inevitability that is also surprising. I think that's at the heart of it. And then what Seth said kind of boils up to the main thing I'm looking for, and that is that it has to feel believable to me. And that's like on so many different levels.
Yeah, you do that in Crevasse. The ending is very, very believable, very well earned.
Thank you. I am glad that you see it that way. I hope that is true.
No, it is. I mean, I'm not trying to be like authoritarian or authoritative about it, but the ending is earned in Crevasse, period.
Well, thank you. That's my rock climbing horror novel. This podcast brought to you by Crevasse, Dark Forest Press. Order now.
And if you enjoy other stories by Clay,
yeah,
That's
what it looks like.
Them.
Yeah,
It
look at
does.
Jeremy there.
I did it.
So yeah, like the inevitability of that shameless plug, I felt like this story could go nowhere but where it went, and yet it was really unconventional and really surprising. It was about the death of a dream, which I really love, because so often we present a dream and then our automatic response as humans is to root for that dream to come true and to like hope for it with our whole souls, whatever that dream, however it may represent itself between the characters, the setting, however it's driven there through the theme and the plot, right? It ultimately all has to mean something, and it has to be something that people can relate to. And I think this book, it does it really well because it is about that death of a dream. It's what so many people, it's so much more relatable, frankly, than your common hero story. Because you know what? The sad truth is 98% of us won't be remembered by history. 98% of us will get within grasping distance of our dream and never catch it. And we might still find a way to love the pursuit of that dream, and that is a valuable thing. I'm not saying you should define your life by achieving some idea of a goal, but I really think this is the whole, that's why it's called Fevre Dream. This whole novel is the experience of living your dream, it not going well, and like continuing to chase it,
right,
regardless of how much struggle it presents you with and how much adversity it brings into your life. If you love it, you don't have a choice. And I think that's what the pursuit of dreams always looks like and feels like in real life. I love the ending to this book because he never gets to win his steamboat race. He never even gets close. Like his one chance, he just catches a glimpse of it driving past him. And then everything goes to shit. And next time he has a chance, it's too late. Boats don't even race anymore. It's fucking beautiful. It's just relatable, realistic, and just gut-wrenchingly tragic too. And it's something you're all going to experience at some point in your life. It's nice to see it represented as still like, because of the epilogue, Seth, it still feels like it was a noble pursuit, regardless of the outcome and regardless of like any damage it left behind.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons when we talk about the epilogue is it's when he's talking about the gravestone, when Martin is describing the gravestone, he goes, above the name, stenciled with great care, is a small decoration, a portrait showing two great side wheel steamers in a race. If you run your fingertips over the stone, you can discern their names and you can almost sense their speed. The trailing boat is named the Eclipse, a famous steamer in her day. The leading boat is unknown to most river historians. She appears to be named the Fevre Dream. The visitor who comes most often always touches her as if for luck. Oddly enough, he always comes by night. Right?
Aww.
And give me a fucking ghost
sweet.
ship all day. Especially
brother.
a ghost ship that's ghosting for good. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go, brother.
The Fever
Let's
Dream
get on a
just
steamboat
runs
and
down
go.
pompous steamboats for the rest of its existence, just crushing them. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
And that was
down.
the dream.
Let's steam a
That's the dream.
boat.
Let's steam a boat. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm
Well,
not
you're
trying to
wonderful.
upset you.
No, you're wonderful.
Yes, you are, Jeremy.
I adore you tremendously.
No, this
I really
this
do.
happens by accident. And hey,
Stoker
man,
Con's me a great
let's
time.
hang out. Great.
Hey man, Stanley Hauerwas, who I think Travis, maybe y'all know, Stanley Hauerwas is a Christian philosopher. He says, "Joy means I'm glad you're here." That's how I feel about you, Jared.
Hell yeah.
That's how I feel about you. Dang, man.
It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
I'm feeling very warm and fuzzy. It could be the whiskey, could be you.
It's both.
Nothing to worry about at StokerCon, Megan. Nothing to worry about.
Nothing.
Maybe we fucking kiss. Maybe we don't. I don't know.
Maybe we make
Maybe
out
that's
a
my
little bit,
fever dream.
and that's fine.
Capital R romance, bros.
Capital R. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got the biggest R, okay?
Listen,
Gonna be
I had
trouble
one
and
more
make it double.
question,
What's your
but I
question,
think
bro?
I don't know if we're out of time or if you got a little more in you, Seth, to answer
Yeah.
one more. To kind of return it back to Martin and his excellent prose. I'm glad you quoted Twain, because I think there's a level to where this book sounds old in a good way.
Yes.
I mean that
Yeah.
very complimentary. I'm reading Count of Monte Cristo right now, and it just seemed to be a
Skip
much
it.
more common thing to talk about the details of every trade, the details of like, not to an extent of like people criticize of like, oh, they're describing every tree, but like to live in the world. I'm right now in the section where they're like touring the Roman Colosseum and going to the opera, and I feel Italy, like I feel it.
Yeah.
And so I think Martin does a really excellent job at this. So my question's two parts again. A, do you agree? Do you think Martin does excellent at that, both in this book and in his later work? And B, what are some other great examples of more modern literature that you think do attack this type of stylistic choice really well?
Ooh, baby.
I
There's
mean,
so many. Or
go ahead, Seth. Go
No,
ahead.
no, please go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I just think, as you guys know, I'm a sucker for that balance between realism and suspended disbelief in my genre fiction. And I think that any story that can walk that line really deftly is always going to win me over. Remind me of the initial question. I had a really good point to go along with that sentiment.
Details, like the
Yes,
the sort of classical style that really focused in on that kind of thing.
Thank you. Yes, I love that because that is one of the realest portrayals of human beings that you will see as we experience them in like a societal context. When you go out into a group of people, the quickest way to get along with everybody is to demonstrate a common value or a common knowledge. And if you can do one of those two things, like you can make friends wherever you go, barring whatever like divides might be between you naturally and societally. Like those things are always going to hold shit up. And I'm just speaking to the general human condition, though. I think most people, if you can demonstrate one of those two things, they're going to be like, yeah, so what's up? You like cars, huh? you know, especially men. Like, if you can do that. But, you know, either way, like, I think that is such a integral and crucial part of building a world, is showing and representing people as they truly are. And I do think like this propensity to focus, and this just nature to focus on your occupation and what you do. And again, like we were talking about the steamboat earlier, but this was a different time. Like you didn't have every option on the internet to you. It wasn't like if you were born in a coal town, pretty good chance I know what your job was. Like,
Right.
If your dad worked in the mine, you probably gonna work in the mine. It doesn't matter. That's just what you'll be raised to do too. Like that's never even like a question for so many people, you know? And that's not, I'm not even saying that's like necessarily a bad thing. It certainly doesn't have to be. In this case, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's something that's accurately portrayed. We see it in Abner Marsh to a very obvious degree, but something you brought up in your, somewhere in there, Seth, I don't remember where, about the pilots having distinct personalities. I mean, how often do we see a captain, he gives an order and the captain's the character we care about. So the pilots are just like, once they're at the controls, they are the controls. There are shows that will be like, oh, look at our captain being a character. And then they go back to the controls and it's like, nope, just they are controls. And like, you don't see that here. Like you see a definitive difference between the two. And Marsh even goes, you know, do I got to get him back up here? Like somebody who wants to fucking do this job. And you see like that honest interaction, you know, where the other guy is really just trying to like, he's just being more cautious. You know, he's a more cautious captain. He was talking about the weather earlier in the book. Well, so we already have that established. And so that demonstrates like such depth of the knowledge of these people about what they do, because fact of the matter is, in that time period, whatever you did, that was probably most of what you were, you know, it had to be to survive. And yeah, so I think it's completely necessary, integral. I hope that like stayed on topic with the question. Because just seeing that through all those different character lenses, especially your side characters that are sort of part of the world build, it's incredibly important. Wow.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way of summating it. I think in being able to strike the balance, number one, you have to be able to develop the place, right? Books are not television, right? And we also have to consider, especially with you reading The Count of Monte Cristo, we have to remember that the medium of the time, the only thing to do is to read these serials and newspapers that are coming out, right? And so the more time you can spend describing a place, the more column inches you're chewing up with each chapter that comes out with the book. There is a balance, though. I think Martin strikes it in the same way that The Count of Monte Cristo and Dumas strikes it, and then we get just enough to feel the place. And feeling the place is enough. But the second part of that, and I was actually talking with Ray about this previously, and I actually have an essay coming out through Shortwave about this very specific thing, which is the people are the place and the people are the point, right? There's only so much pretty scenery that people are willing to read about. Now, John Steinbeck is the exception to this, because his whole beginning of East of Eden is basically like, hey, look how fucking beautiful the Salinas Valley is, right? When he's talking about the cream colored flowers of the valley, right? And but there is a balance. And Martin only indulges in this in certain sections of the book, never more so than the epilogue, because he's talking about the river of life, right? The graveyard is old and overgrown and filled with the sounds of the river. It sits high on its bluff, and beneath it rolls the Mississippi on and on, which has rolled for 1,000 years, right? And he adds this sort of element of historical depth, lush scenery depth, where he's basically describing the graveyard where Abner Marsh is laid. So there's a balancing point to that. And you really don't want to lean in it too hard, because it's a haymaker punch. And you can only lean into the haymaker so many times into the book where the reader's like, Jesus Christ, I fucking get it. Right? But this book, especially Fevre Dream, especially leans into the heavy haymaker punches at all the right times, which is one of the things that makes the book so insane to think that this is his debut novel. I really can't express how fucking crazy that is.
Yeah, it's very crazy.
That's
to be able to,
man.
It is in fact big time bananas. And the second part of your question, Travis, is how do we do it? Well, brother, the only way to do it is by listening to the wellspring. And that's what's inside of you. Because inside of every person, there are the stories that only you can tell. There are only stories that Clay is going to be able to tell. Crevasse is clearly one of them, right? Only Clay can write that book, right? And Fevre Dream is a book that can only be written by Martin because he, one, fucking loves vampires because they're super cool, and he fell in love with steamboats.
Yep.
Those two things make Fevre Dream uniquely George R.R. Martin, right?
Yeah.
And so everything that we work on, all the stuff that we do as writers, it has to be true to the wellspring inside of you, that only a story that you can tell, to create places that only you can take the reader to, and then developing people within those spaces that only you have been able to create. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? I hope it does.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like talking about Steinbeck, I haven't read East of Eden, but I love Grapes of Wrath. And like only Steinbeck can write that book, because Steinbeck, I think, sees the American land as a character. So that's the way he writes the American land, is almost like as a personification. He sees the soil of this country as like a living thing, and he writes just like that.
And to y'all's point, y'all will love this. In travels with Charlie across America, y'all will fucking love this. He goes, Montana is what every young boy believes Texas is like. He's like, everything some motherfucker says about Texas, that's actually what Montana is like.
Love it.
Right?
100%. And you know, I think I have to agree with everyone thus far, and I kind of want to dig in a little deeper, because for me, nothing says realism like when you're spending time describing something and putting in these specific details, nothing sells the realism of the details being provided like details shifting with the POV. And I think this book does a great job with that, because you can feel the difference in what's being like noticed by the narrator when you're talking from the good guy's POV versus the bad guy's POV, and like what is being drawn to your attention to kind of sort of put you off balance or ill at ease at, say, a slave auction, or when some nice lady's about to get murdered by a room full of vampires, and we're just gonna get out of there. And that it does so much to like immerse you in a world, and it's very telling, and it again is crazy that this is, say, a first book from anyone, that it can do that noticeably chapter to chapter.
Right. And that's Martin's big point between the difference between Abner Marsh and Sour Billy Tipton, is that one of them is a friend and the other one is a thrall. And those, like, you can either subjugate the people around you or you can befriend them, right?
Yeah,
so I think
Feared or Loved is like,
point.
I think Feared or Loved is definitely at the heart of this story all the way
Absolutely.
through. Travis, did you want to add anything else to the rest of this?
I think I got it all in. I mean, I could talk about all of these books for a long time, but I think we gotta rate it.
Yeah. Let's do it. Do you want to?
All right.
Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll hop in. I don't think you should get. Usually, I go with the like drink every time they drink or something. But I think you should treat this like a steamboat trip that you paid a lot of money to go on. You don't want to be hammered for that, man. Like, you don't want to lose that experience with being sloshed and puking off the side of the boat. You maybe want to be buzzed. You maybe want to be buzzed, but I think what you really want to do is you want to dress in your nicest suit. You want to get some cigars out of your humidor, and you want to go and maybe have a bottle of good bourbon, and you just sit on that deck and you smoke one cigar and a glass and a half of bourbon, and I think that'll be perfect.
That'll get her done.
Yeah. If you read slow, maybe 2 cigars over a couple days, But yeah, you definitely need I wish I would have had a smoke in that on no AC.
No, sir, you're off
truck.
that. You're off that situation. You're out of there with your GRRM development.
Oh. You watched the show.
You watched the
show.
That's my rating.
I did not watch the show. I would say make yourself a spicy cocktail, because what I want you to do when you add fermentation to this journey is I want you to discover solidarity with the vampires. So make yourself a spicy cocktail that's going to make you feel the way Abner Marsh felt when he took a swig of it, and drink it with the vampires. And see if by the end, would that be preferable to murdering people? And I hope that you find the answer is yes. Jeremy?
Well, hey, I think if you want to get into the spirit of things, you want to put something together that tastes otherworldly, which is why for this, if the book had been less good, I would have gone for my infinity bottle, which tastes like if insane nightmares were liquefied.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's too good. So I'd say fancy cocktails all day. You want to be fancy drunk for this, as though you were on a fancy steam-powered riverboat.
Yes.
And,
fancy drunk is fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And if, like me, you're listening to the audiobook because your damn book didn't show up when you wanted it to, you'll want a sip every time the audiobook's accents are just absolutely off the wall, which they are. You have a Scotsman doing various American Southern accents. It's incredible. Please
I agree
sip
that it's
for
incredible.
I agree.
Ron Donahue
I love
does the audiobook.
So sick.
And
He's
it's the second best audiobook I've ever listened to, the first one being The Exorcist.
The best audiobook is the Mongoliad.
Exorcist,
you should check that out.
The best audiobook is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, read by Douglas Adams.
Well, that is...
And I will die on this hill, Seth.
You need to... Seth, you got to check out the Mongoliad. It's awesome.
I will. On your recommendation, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Neil Stevenson, Mark Teppo, Greg Bear, and a bunch of other writers. I think there was 3 others wrote it together, but it's essentially like a story of knights who try to assassinate Genghis Khan to stop the Mongol invasion.
Fuck yeah, I'm in for that.
Anybody else rock hard over here or what?
Yeah, it's awesome. You got to check it out, and it's
with this steam-powered dick of mine. Right?
Absolutely, dude. And they're taking the steamboat. They're not. Their alchemist isn't leveled up enough for that yet. But yeah, this has been a hell of a show. We done did it. And now the last thing we need is for Seth to rate this thing and then tell us one more time who he is, what he does, where you can find him, and all that good stuff. So Seth, how many to enjoy this book to the fullest? And then who are you? What do you do? Where can we find you?
I think that in order to enjoy this book to the maximum, I would say have one sherry cobbler, because that's what all those fine people are drinking up at Natchez over the hill.
Hell
right?
Yeah.
Have yourself a sherry cobbler. And then, but not too much after that. If you indulge in the tobacco, I would suggest a fine bowl of McClellan's Black Vanilla Cavendish. Even though I'm not a pipe smoker anymore, that's what I used to smoke. I would suggest that. But for me, this book is, I believe it to be not only the roadmap to Martin's future success, but also one of the greatest vampire novels ever written. For me, it's one of the greatest genre novels ever written, which is one goddamn hell of a trick to pull as your debut novel. But my name is C.S. Humble. You can find me on Shortwave Books. They published my 6-book saga, Amid the Vastness of All Else, of which the 4th book in that saga is called To Carry a Body to Its Resting Place, which is a direct homage to this book, Fevre Dream. The book is dedicated to George R.R. Martin with the exact same dedication that he gives to Howard Waldrop at the beginning of the book. But you can find me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at CS Humble. You won't find a lot of stuff there that's super exciting. I'm mostly talking about writing, and I'm working on a gothic romantasy that hopefully you'll see sometime soon.
Hell yeah, we can't wait, brother. You're good at that stuff. I'm excited to see what you do through a fantasy lens instead of Western. Though Amid the Vastness of All Else is excellent collection of stories. You should all go pick them up, give them a read. They kick ass. Seth, you kick ass too, brother. Thanks so much for coming on the show yet again.
You're the best.
Travis, Jeremy, thanks for being here as always. Great job tonight. Great job, lads. And we'll see everybody else next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Can't wait for StokerCon.
StokerCon.